Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to talk about the one tool that I think every single photographer should own outside of a camera, a lens, a neck strap, and some batteries, and of course a memory card. And that is a good, solid tripod. We're going to talk about the durability of these three tripods. We're going to talk about their stability, because of course that's the whole point. And we're going to talk about their ease of use, how lightweight they are and how small they pack down, because that is what determines whether you take one of these tools with you into the field or whether you leave it at home and, well, can't do anything for you there. So before we get started, I want you to know that all three of these are relatively high-end carbon fiber travel tripods, and that this is basically a sponsored video. All three of these were provided to me at no charge, either through reimbursement or through being sent to me directly from the manufacturer when they heard I was making this video. But despite that, I want you to know that this is an honest review. I'm going to tell you what I like about each one of these, and I'm going to be fully honest and in some cases a little bit ruthless about exactly what I don't like about these. I've been testing these for about the past 3 months, and I think each one of these has a really specific use case. For the right type of person, it's going to be a perfect tool, and for the wrong type of person, it would be a pretty big mistake, because these are all relatively large investments, as basically everything is these days. So we're going to take each one of these one at a time out into the woods. We're going to talk about it, and then at the end of the video, we'll put all that together into my recommendations of which one of these is the best fit for you based on your own shooting style. Let's get going. For our first tripod today, we are going to talk about the Heipi 3-in-1 carbon fiber travel tripod. And I have a lot to say about this tripod, as have other reviewers. There are tons of influencer style reviews of this tripod. So I'm going to cut through all that and just give you my honest feedback. First, durability. This tripod, I think, gets top marks for durability, and that is because despite its name saying carbon fiber travel tripod, it's actually predominantly made of metal. The only carbon fiber part of this tripod are the main leg tubes themselves, but no other part of this tripod, including the legs of the secondary tripod, yes, it's kind of a 2-in-1, we'll get to that, none of that is carbon fiber, only the legs. The leg locks themselves, as you just saw, they're actually metal. They're super clicky. If you can hear that on my microphone, it's a bit of a hissing sound of the air rushing through the carbon fiber legs, but they're metal, they're clicky, they're really, really nice and tight, and you can adjust that, and they can be removed for cleaning, which is great, because anytime you have lever lock legs, and sometimes even twisty lock legs, you'll want to be able to remove them for cleaning to get sand and grit out of them. Otherwise, especially on carbon fiber tripods, that will wear down on this carbon fiber over time. Other than that, as I said, most of this is metal, so it's going to hold up really well. The legs of the secondary tripod are metal. This huge collar that you rotate right here, and it is huge, in order to raise and lower or even remove the secondary tripod, is also metal. The ball head up top is the biggest I've ever seen, and it is also entirely metal. So durability standpoint, I think this gets top marks. We'll give it a, I don't know, 8 out of 10. I'm being pretty strict here. It's not perfect. I can see areas of improvement, but considering how much metal is here, it's only 3 pounds. That's really, really great. A good blend of usability and durability. Let's talk about stability. That is actually one place where this tripod falls short in my view. There are a lot of reviews out there, and Heipi themselves really hype up this, and let's call it, it is what it is. It's innovative. This design of the secondary tripod, which this can all completely pop out. This is your center column, the legs of this secondary smaller tripod, and it is really stable from about here up. But below there, it's actually the main legs of this tripod, and the fact that they're actually quite small in diameter, they really let the stability of this tripod fall apart when you have it fully extended. I'll put some video up right now where I'm pressing down on the top of the ball head here, just relatively lightly, and kind of doing a swishing motion with my hand, kind of analogous to what you would expect to have a big heavy camera, especially like a wildlife lens or something like that. I would not use this tripod with a heavy camera system on a windy mountaintop or anywhere where I had any kind of external force pushing on my camera, especially for something like long exposures. If you're using this just to support your camera and take the weight off your shoulders, great. More than adequate for that, and just the right weight to carry with you. From a usability point of view, I would say that this is somewhere in the middle, maybe slightly above average. So let's say like a 6 or a 7. Again, I'm being really harsh with these ratings. And that is because some parts of this I love. Those leg locks, I keep on talking about them because they are just ASMR, super satisfying to use, nice and clicky. They work wonderfully. The collar here to remove the tripod, the upper secondary tripod, is okay. It's actually quite large and bulky, and we'll get into that secondary tripod in a second. But my least favorite thing of this tripod, and what I think Heipi frankly made a big mistake with, is the ball head. I actually emailed them directly about this to ask if their design of this was intentional or if I received a defective unit, and they confirmed this was intentional. So right here on the ball head is a little knob, and this knob is what allows you to control pan. Just like that. You loosen it and it pans really, really nice and smoothly, by the way. That's great. That is how you would expect most ball heads to behave. On a typical ball head, if you loosen the large lever, doesn't really matter where it is, they all kind of do the same thing. That's what you would expect. The ball head itself should move around, just like that, right? That's what you expect. But on this tripod, it does something I think quite inconvenient, which is that when you loosen this lever, and some people have very strong opinions, this is the locked position where it's facing up, unlocked is facing down. Some people really don't like that. I'm ambiguous about it. When you loosen that, it also loosens the pan. But if you're someone who, like me, just wants the ball head to be loose and not the pan as well, when you loosen the ball head lever, this was unexpected and a little disappointing from a usability standpoint. The other knock on this tripod from a usability standpoint is the actual quick release on top. On one hand, it's really nice. It is a quick release. They have a really slim design right here, if you can see that, of the part that rotates. So that way you can drop Arca Swiss plate in here and it should lock in. But what I learned is that when I first took this out a few videos ago when I was at Cedar Creek Grist Mill, I basically learned that this does not accept a whole bunch of typical Arca Swiss plates. So I had a 3-legged things tripod plate on the bottom of my camera and it would not fit in here. It was a little bit too tall, even though it is an Arca Swiss plate. I luckily still had the plate that came with this. I swapped it out with that one, and ever since I've just left that plate on my camera so I can use this tripod without having to think about what plate I have. But compared to some of the other tripods that are in today's lineup that pretty much accept any plate you throw at them, that was a little bit of a ding in terms of usability. There's one last thing which we should talk about because it is the main feature of this tripod, and that is that secondary tripod. If you loosen this collar right there, then the secondary tripod slides right out. And you just keep going and eventually, pop, it pops right off. This secondary tripod has its convenient 3 little legs. It's actually really, really nice. So I'm trying to block the sun for you. It's really nice that the legs on this secondary tripod, they are metal, so they're quite stable despite being quite thin. And they actually have tiny locks up here, which allows them to lock into different positions. On that topic, I will also say that Heipi really markets this tripod, and other people out there on YouTube have claimed that, you know, you're getting 2 tripods for the price of one. And that's true if you're carrying a second ball head with you. If you're gonna use this as 2 separate tripods, one for a light or a mic and one for your camera, however you choose to do that, you're gonna need to carry a second ball head with you. So from a travel standpoint, maybe you're the sort of person who's doing that, really slim kind of travel studio setup, bring a second ball head with you, and this is unmatched in terms of its usability. But yeah, take the marketing on that a little bit with a grain of salt, because the reality is it's just not necessarily something that I use all the time. And of course, like we talked about, while that top section, while that design does give you a ton of stability on the upper end of this tripod, it is a little bit lacking on the lower end. Other than that, I think that's all I've got about the Heipi. We're gonna move on and talk about the next tripod in our lineup and get out of this sun, which has been moving quite quickly and is now coming in and blinding you. So bear with me, we're gonna move down the trail a little bit and break out the next tripod in today's lineup. I'll tell you what, I know I'm here to review tripods today, but I think when I'm done filming this video, I'm gonna grab my 100 to 400 out of the car and walk around and maybe shoot some of these birds. There's more birds here than I've seen in quite a while, and it's probably owing to the fact that we have some unusually warm weather right now. We're coming out of about a month straight of rain here in southern Washington, and pretty cold temperatures down in the 30s, but we're up in the upper 50s today. It's pretty wild. We're gonna move on to our next tripod and move back here into the woods just a little bit, into the shade. This is the Falcam F38 Pro carbon fiber travel tripod. I've talked about it in previous videos, and if you've watched any of my recent videos, you will know that I carry this tripod with me a lot. And that is because I think it is the best out of the bunch from a usability standpoint. The first thing that I really like about this tripod are the leg locks, and they are super easy. Just takes a quarter turn, just like that. It's fully loose. It's a little gritty sounding, but super easy to fully extend the leg. You can grab all three at the same time, and out you go, and there you go. Now your legs fully collapse. So really quick to set up, really quick to take down. That's great from a usability standpoint. If I turn this little silver knob right here, I can extend a little bit more. I can extend the center column. You do have to extend the center column just a little bit in order to actually be able to use the full range of motion for the ball head. So I'll lock that down, and I'll undo this little lever right here, and that fully loosens the ball head. And right now I actually have it pretty tight. I'm going to loosen the tension on the ball head, and I'll explain in a minute what I mean by that. There we go. Now, loosey-goosey. So perfect with a lightweight camera and lens setup, or if you wanted to, you can tension the ball head with this little screw right here. It's just a thumb screw. You hear it nice and clicky. Now it's nice and tightened down. If I loosen it again, all of a sudden there is a lot more force required to actually get this to move around, and that is wonderful. It means I can use this with my big wildlife lens, and it means I can use it with my smaller lenses, no issues whatsoever. I'm not gonna fall into an issue where it just plops over forwards. It is a quick release up here, and it is Arca Swiss compatible. I have yet to find any of my Arca Swiss plates. Even the Heipi plate will play nicely on this ball head, which is wonderful. And if I undo this guy right here, now my pan controls are nice and loose. The tension adjustment here does not affect the tightness of the pan, but it is still, it's tight, but it's nice and smooth. The center post is this kind of triangular design. It is skinny, but I find it to be really stable. We'll get to stability in just a minute. But if you want to save some weight, you can actually just snap this piece off. This entire lower section can be snapped off with this fancy little silver mechanism, and then all you're left with is the ball head and about this much of your center column, just enough to be able to get the full range out of the ball head. So easy way to shave off, I think, 1/3 or 1/2 of a pound. And that's kind of the other part of usability, is that despite this tripod being pretty long, and it has one fewer leg section, but is just as tall or maybe even taller than the Heipi, it is 3.3 pounds or 3.4 pounds. So really nice weight range, kind of, I would say, the upper limit of what I'm willing to carry in a travel tripod, but for the size and for the stability you get out of it, really great from a usability standpoint. So top marks there. It does have some little F22 mounts here on the side and a little quarter 20 on the side here. I've never used those, but if you're invested in that ecosystem or you have a monitor you want to attach here, then maybe it will work for you. I'm gonna take a quick break and wait for this plane to pass. We were about to talk about stability and durability, and I think I'll just be brief about this. The stability of this tripod is excellent. I have a 3-legged things Punks Travis tripod at home, also kind of a travel tripod, but 3.6 pounds just about. And this is at least, if not more, stable than that, despite it being a much lighter 3.3 pound tripod, even lighter, about 3 pounds if you remove that center column I was talking about, or the lower half of the center column. So overall, really good stability marks, and shows none of the deflection that you saw a minute ago with the Heipi, even when I really crank down on the top and it's fully extended. Now we'll get to durability, and that is where I have to say this tripod suffers, and that is a shame because this is an expensive piece of kit. The metal parts, no issues whatsoever. The ball head, super durable. The center column, super durable. The click locks for adjusting leg angles, super durable. But right here, inside of these twist locks, there is a tiny plastic collar. It's not the shim, it's a collar, and it lives right here. You can almost see it popping up, although I'm sure this camera can't quite get zoomed in enough. The other day, I was out hiking. Luckily, I had finished shooting for the day, and I went to put my tripod away. I had just shot this waterfall, and when I went to put the leg back, it wouldn't go. I continued turning it to the left to loosen it all the way and to remove the actual twisty piece off of that collar so I can really see what's going on. And what I saw was that plastic collar was just completely chewed up and destroyed. And And to me, that was really unacceptable. That tripod had been used on, I don't know, 4 or 5 day trips, left me in a situation where I was out in the field and I had to carry my tripod home pretty much like this. And you know, that's not the end of the world, but that's not great when you have a couple miles to hike out. So from a durability standpoint, that was really frustrating. I will say that I reached directly back out to the manufacturer, and with a bit of back and forth, they didn't immediately offer to send me a replacement tripod. They actually said that they don't have replacement parts like that to send to you. They weren't able to mail me that, but they did mail me this tripod that you see today. I've been using this one, as I said, for about 3 months now and have not had any of the same durability issues. So that's the Falcam F38 Pro, really solid tripod overall, surprisingly stable and surprisingly lightweight for how stable it is. But yeah, maybe some long-term durability concerns, at least with that one. So yeah, we're gonna move on down the trail. We've got one more tripod to talk about, and then we'll wrap it up by talking about all 3 and which one might be the right fit for you. Okay, let's talk about our 3rd and final tripod of the day, and then we'll get into which of these tripods is right for you based on how you shoot and what you're looking for in your tripod. This is the iFootage Gazelle TC3B, and I have it paired with the iFootage MP30 ball head. Now, you can find these two together, but typically, actually, how this one was shipped to me was with a video head. But I don't use video heads very often, so I took it off and replaced it with this one. We're gonna talk about them together. For the most part, it won't affect the comments that I have. From a usability standpoint, this tripod is excellent. It is a little guy. I would say it is about as long as, maybe even longer than the Heipi with this very, very long ball head that's on here. The leg locks, just like the Heipi, are really nice metal. Super, super smooth sounding, not gritty like on the Falcam. And they tighten down really nice. There's a little screw right there you can adjust to tighten or loosen them. I did that straight out of the box. They were all way too loose for my tastes. They don't have the same snap positive closure that the Heipi had. Nice and clicky, but they get the job done, and they are nice and tight once you have them dialed in. Now, if you want to adjust the angle of the legs, right here, you've got this really nice sounding and all metal, there we go, snap. And as you close it back down, well, I should say it does go to a 90 degree from the vertical. That's really impressive. Not all tripods do that. As you close it down, you can hear it's snapping into place. And as you probably would have just noticed, there is no center column whatsoever on this tripod. For some people, that's a downside. There's a little bit of a baggage hook there that sticks down. This is the only tripod that we're looking at today that does not have a center column. But what that means is that you can get this thing crazy low to the ground if you're trying to do some really low angle photography. I won't comment too much about the usability of the ball head because iFootage sells a bunch of different heads that you could put on this, and most of the time you do buy the tripod separate, but a couple things. First, this knob right here actually loosens this kind of weird little pivoty bit in the middle of the tripod. That is more important if you're shooting video and you're using a video head that has fewer degrees or less range of motion, let's say. Whereas on something like this with a ball head, when you loosen the ball head control, the ball head is nice and loose and you're not gaining any range of motion from this that you don't get from the ball head. But unlike the Heipi, when you loosen this guy, it does not loosen the pan, right? You have to come over here to your pan control and loosen that, and then the pan will move. It is really tight. I'm not sure why. To me, that is way, way tighter than it needs to be, even when I have that backed all the way out. But honestly, I don't use pan control very often. And if you don't like that, get a different ball head. Overall, ball head is good. It's Arcos compatible. It is not a quick release. So just like my 3-legged things, Punks Travis, you're gonna tighten this screw to get that plate in and out. But it does have the little slots on either side for those hex head bolts, the safety bolts that we talked about earlier with the Falcam, or sorry, with the Heipi. This is compatible with plates that have those, which is really nice. And if you get the MP30 ball head, it even has a cute little Allen key that sits in there magnetically, and I actually haven't had that fall out really at all. So that's great. Let's talk about durability. Overall, I think this is at least as durable as the Heipi, but more durable than the Falcam. And I say that because of the leg locks. I really have learned that I just worry about the leg locks on the Falcam and about those plastic parts wearing out and really putting me into quite a pickle somewhere out in the field, especially if I'm backpacking or something like that. But I have no expectations of any kind of similar issues with these. There's just fewer parts to break because they ain't twisty locks, they're lever locks. So just like the Heipi, really, really good durability there. Also, just like the Heipi, there is no plastic whatsoever really on this tripod. The only thing that is not metal or carbon fiber are the rubber feet down here, which you can twist to reveal metal feet. But you know, the tubes for the legs are carbon fiber, the lever locks, those are metal. Everything up here is metal. So despite it being all metal and carbon fiber, it is still really nice and lightweight, especially, like I said, if you find a lighter weight ball head. So durability, top marks. Usability, also, I would say, generally top marks, as long as you're happy living without an extendable center column. Let's talk about stability. I think you can expect less stability out of this tripod than what you get from something like the Falcam. And part of that comes down to the simple fact that there are more leg segments here, and that these leg segments are a narrower diameter, I'm pretty sure, although I don't have calipers with me, than what you see on the Falcam. That just means that this is a tripod like the Heipi that is meant for light to medium duty setups if you're really trying to do long exposures, things like that. Or if you're just using it as something to kind of take the strain off your shoulders, for example, with a wildlife lens, then yeah, feel free to use this. Just don't leave your entire setup, you know, supported just by this, especially if you're trying to shoot at slower shutter speeds. So we've covered durability, we've covered usability, and we've covered stability, but I think it's time for me to head back that way, grab all these tripods. I'm gonna lay them out on the ground so you can see how they differ in terms of their size, and we're gonna talk about which of these is the right fit for you, and arguably the thing that is most important to most people these days: how much do these cost? Who are these tripods for? If you are on a budget, get the iFootage. It is durable, it's easy to use, it is not as tall as the rest, but it is just as light, and you can put whatever ball head you want on this, although the video head that comes with it is still great, considering that this tripod is $219. Really amazing value there for the quality of the tripod. The Heipi over here is really amazing if you are looking for this two tripod setup, but frankly it suffers a little bit in terms of usability because of what we talked about up here with the ball head and how it operates, its control structure, and its lack of adaptability for different Arca Swiss plates. And personally, I do not use the tripod within tripod functionality of it, but if that matters to you, pack an extra ball head, and there is no other tripod on the market that can do what this tripod does, even though it suffers a little bit in terms of overall stability. This tripod right now is $379, so do with that what you will. The leg locks on it are the best out of the bunch. Over here, the Falcam F38 Pro, there's a reason why you see this in most of my videos, although I do use both of these as well, and that is that this is just so much easier to use. The ball head is better. The leg locks, up here for angle, are better. The center column is better than the Heipi right here because I can shorten it and leave some weight at home, and that's amazing for long hikes. This is a pretty big tripod. It is heavier than either of the other two. And I have serious durability concerns about the cheap plastic, and I say cheap because I mean it, they are cheap, plastic components inside these quarter turn twist locks. But the fact that I carry this with me speaks to that I am willing to deal with that concern and have it nagging me in the back of the head because this tripod is just such a joy to use, and I have never run into compatibility issues with the base plates, the many different base plates that I use, and the head, the ball head on this tripod. So really amazing tripod, but it is costly. It is $399. Sometimes goes on sale for $379, but yeah, it's an investment. That said, you're gonna spend a good amount of money on a tripod, at least $219 for a decent carbon fiber travel tripod. And if I had to do it again, I would continue to buy the Falcam and maybe have the iFootage as a backup. The complexity of this guy, the Heipi, and it's really interesting, but frankly quite niche use case with this secondary tripod just doesn't apply to me. I will almost always take the Falcam. If I'm really trying to cut weight, I'll put a lightweight ball head on the iFootage and take that instead. Let me know down in the comments if you disagree with any of those recommendations or if you have different experiences with any of these tripods. I would really like to hear your thoughts. Until then, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.